It may kill, but this will kill.
It will kill.
And there's a lot of death-ish happening. CNN.
Spooky.
Yeah, CNN reports. See what happened in the moments after reported assassination attempt. No name of the ex-prime minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, in the title here, which is kind of interesting. But I will play the video. There's 1 minute and 34 seconds of CNN reporting what happened.
In the chaotic moments after the shooting, Imran Khan had to be carried out and whisked away from the crowd. A gunman had opened fire at a rally of tens of thousands of his supporters. His target, Khan's party says, was the former Prime Minister himself. Shot in the lower leg, he was bundled into a bulletproof car and driven 2 hours to Lahore for surgery. A party senior leader released a statement from Khan saying Pakistan's old cricketing hero blamed Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, his interior minister, and a senior intelligence official for an attempt on his life, calling for their removal from office. It was, the government said, a grievous accusation. Outside the hospital, people waited desperately for news. Protests broke out across the country as news of the shooting spread. 6 others were injured in the attack, and 1 was killed, according to a senator from Khan's political party.
Oh, there's bloody guy talking to a camera. Yeah, so 1 did die. Now, is it just me?
So there's a former Pakistani prime minister.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was thinking for a second this was Iran. For no reason other than I was confused.
Okay.
All right.
Yes. So assassination attempt, somebody in the group there did pass. And, you know, it just has been since Jan 6, Basil, it's just been very dangerous for politicians all over the world or ex-politicians.
Former prime ministers, especially.
Abe from Japan, former prime minister of Japan, was assassinated earlier this year. And obviously, you know, here at home, we have the Paul Pelosi situation happening in the news cycle right now that we've been covering. So it just seems like it's maybe a difficult time for politicians.
Of course, yes. It's all over the news. It's injected into the messaging that everybody gets every day is, of course, because of Jan 6, everybody in the world feels like they can perpetrate political violence, or they want to perpetrate political violence. And
no political leader is safe. There's no safety, so they need some kind of security apparatus to protect them and their families. And what got me, you know, I was like, well, maybe we're just overblowing it. Maybe, you know, it's kind of a feeling we get because we pay attention to the news cycle and stuff like that. But I found this article which confirms kind of, I guess, the narrative and does create the anxiety level of Americans to rise up during the elections here and moving forward in the Great Reset. So this is actually Sacramento Bee. And the headline here is From Gabby Giffords to Paul Pelosi, a list of recent attacks, threats against political figures. And so it's just a list, just real quick here.
Okay. Go down the list. This will be interesting.
Earlier this year, an unknown person smashed in a window in the home of Senator Susan Collins, Republican in Maine. Okay. Yep. Unknown. All right. In July, a man was arrested after standing outside the home of Rep. Pramila Jayapal, Democrat, Washington, threatening to kill her and telling her to go back to India. There seems to be that's what I wanted to mention was as we go through some of these, and there's other stories that we're going to touch on, what's kind of the common, at least in the US, the through line, you know, the common denominator. In June.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I thought you were asking a question.
I am, but I'm also sort of got to spell out all the data here.
I'm going to guess, which is right-wing extremists and Trump.
Yeah, no, you're
go.
Is that all you can think about is Trump?
That's all I can think about.
In June, Rep. Adam Kinzinger, Republican Illinois, who sits on the Congressional Committee investigating the Jan 6, 2021 insurrection, shared a letter containing a death threat he received. That one's kind of weak because it's not even really like a thing. It's like, oh, he shared it in a letter that he received a death threat. In November 2021, Rep. Ilhan Omar, Democrat, Minnesota, played a recording of a death threat that she received from Rep. Lauren Boebert from Colorado, made an Islamophobic statement about her. Is that really a death threat? I don't think that's a death threat. That's more of a political staging, but okay.
I would need to know what the actual thing is. But
it was Boebert. I think we did report on it. Maybe it was when you were gone, but yeah.
I mean, a death threat is a death threat. It's a pretty
it was Islamophobic statements. It wasn't exactly a death threat, but okay. Also in November 2021, Rep. Fred Upton, Republican in Michigan, announced that he had received multiple death threats after voting for President Joe Biden. Joe Biden's $1.2 trillion infrastructure package. In January 2021, an army of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol while Congress was ratifying the 2020 presidential election results, with some looking for Speaker Pelosi and others chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." And then it goes before all that, 2019, after the Fresno Grizzlies minor league baseball team played a Memorial Day video comparing Rep. Alexander Ocasio-Cortez to North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Cuba's Fidel Castro, the congresswoman shared a series of tweets discussing the death threats that incidents like that inspire. Oh boy, very.
So there's not even evidence of actual death threats. Just a thread about hypothetical death causes of death threats. Yeah, okay, I see.
Well, because nobody really wants to murder AOC, So
well, I'm sure somebody does, but
yeah, sure,
we don't.
In 2017,
it's too entertaining.
Yes, in 2017. Quote unquote entertaining. Rep. Steve Scalise, Louisiana, was shot and seriously wounded during a congressional baseball practice. Remember that? That was kind of a big deal.
Yes, that was a sort of Democrat one.
But they have to go before 2019. They go to 2017 with the Scalise thing, and then they go back to 2011. Gabby Giffords, Democrat, Arizona, was shot and seriously wounded, and several other people were killed during a meeting with constituents.
So 2011, huh?
2011, yeah.
They're reaching back pretty far.
Yeah, well, I think the mixture between tweets about AOC and actual politicians getting shot just kind of lumped together on a list is pretty interesting. In the context, especially of, oh my gosh, from Gabby Giffords to Paul Pelosi, the threats on political figures is rising. If the politicians aren't safe, nobody is safe. That's the message.
You're right. Well, interesting, because it does kind of mirror a little bit of what the messaging was like when Trump got censored or kicked off, Twitter. Like, oh, if the president got censored, then nobody is safe from censorship.
Right. Yes. And I do believe there is this whole,
which turned out to be absolutely true.
Right.
I mean, nobody is safe. We learned from the recent Intercept article that even satirical accounts with 56 followers had their very own FBI agent assigned to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
to track and censor them. So you're not, I mean, it's silly, but it's not untrue.
Right. Well, and then, tying it back to this former Pakistani PM getting shot, really, and the images that come out of other countries when stuff like this happens is always pretty disturbing too. And especially, that's what they want to show in America. This is coming to America. This is what's going to happen in the U.S. with certain politicians. And so that's a thing. It's part of the mind control. It's part of the social engineering. It's part of the politics. It's part of the Great Reset.
Again, what people have to remember, this show primarily is about analyzing and deconstructing how the mainstream media is talking about something and the effect that it has. And what we've seen recently, pretty much ever since January of 2021, is an ongoing conversation, whether there's evidence or not. Sometimes it's just people talking about it. A constant stream of psychological influence being injected into the public sphere via social media, via news channels, via written, news, things like this. A constant stream of influence regarding the safety of politicians, how politicians are no longer safe. You've got the president. It kind of mirrors how we've seen the president talking about false flags all the time. Yep. The news finally accepting false flags and false flag, the language being accepted into
public vernacular.
Popular vernacular. And then you've got a number of actual incidences with politicians. It's interesting. A lot of them are politicians almost being in danger. You kind of got to think about the Pelosi thing that way.
Yeah.
Look, it's not great. I mean, it's unfortunate that Paul was kind of caught in the crossfire there, but it was Pelosi almost in danger. And I'm not saying it was a false flag or anything, but I just think it's interesting how the same vernacular is being inserted and the hammering home repeatedly every single day from every single outlet. Politicians are in danger. Politicians are in danger. Politicians are in danger. And I think to a degree, if you follow the sort of paper trail leading back to the psychological strategy board from 1952, you see the same method, the injection of psychological, you could call it manipulation, you can call it influence, whatever, into the public mind, hive mind, seems to have results. It's sort of like installing software, which we've talked about, many times before.
Yeah, it's like the algorithm for the masses, and you can control their behavior based on some of those algos.
Speaking of which, we don't have it in the show today, but the Elon tweet.
Oh yeah, we do. We have it. It's at the end.
Do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. We got it. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's enough of me blabbing.
Yep. So along these lines of it will kill.
It will kill.
Also in crypto.
Is this a crypto? Do I look like I know what a crypto is?
Yeah. I hesitated to bring this story to the show, but International Business Times reported on it. So I thought, okay, well, if there is a mainstream reporting of a story like this, then let's go ahead and do it. So International Business Times, creator of MakerDAO, found dead in Puerto Rico. CIA involved? ? It's International Business Times, folks.
They actually said it in International Business Times.
Yes.
Huh.
And there's a reason for it.
Okay, and isn't International Business Times, aren't they of sort of suspicious funding?
Let me double check.
Are they one of the ones that are kind of like, okay, we don't know where you guys are getting your money, but it seems to be some sort of connection to...
They're connected to Newsweek.
Intelligence. Oh, well, if they're connected to Newsweek, then they are connected to the intelligence agencies.
Yeah, unclear funding. So Newsweek, under Newsweek, it says unclear funding since Newsweek was spun off from Etienne Uzak's International Business Times Media in September 2018. So it's the father of Newsweek, International Business Times.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. So connections there.
The creator of MakerDAO, the largest decentralized finance protocol by total locked value, was found dead by drowning in Puerto Rico last week. Nikolai Mushigian was dragged and drowned by sea currents on the Condado beach in San Juan, and by the time people came to his aid, the 29-year-old crypto entrepreneur had no vital signs, the local newspaper El Nuevo Dia reported. However, in a Twitter post last week, Mushigian noted that he is being framed by the CIA and Mossad for a sex trafficking entrapment blackmail ring that was carried out of Puerto Rico and Caribbean islands. And it shows the tweet here. He tweeted out on October 28th, CIA and Mossad and Pedo Elite are running some kind of sex trafficking entrapment blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and Caribbean islands. They're going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend, who was a spy. They will torture me to death. And okay, so some responses I've seen is that he was struggling with schizophrenia or mental issues and drugs and stuff like that. So there is an interpretation of tweets like this by some folks allegedly close to him were saying, hey, he was struggling with certain mental issues. But, that's kind of the standard answer when people start saying stuff like this and then something happens. It's always suspicious, but also the people that tended to know, they will say like, he was having issues, which is both can be true, because
the
pattern,
him tweeting that, him talking about a ring of pedophiles and, being targeted is evidence, of course, that he's crazy, because of course that's not true. So that means he's crazy. And what do crazy people do? They get swept away in mysterious currents in the ocean.
Right.
Like, that's not me saying that. No. That's them saying that.
Yeah. Then it quotes the other creators of MakerDAO, which was sort of the first DeFi, which is decentralized finance, a project that leveraged Ethereum, crypto stuff. Yeah. Okay. And it says here, Mushigian has played a vital role in the crypto community and worked on several major projects like BitShares Balancer and the aforementioned MakerDAO. The founder of Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, says a few words about him. And this article ends there. So a couple things to note. One, this guy, Nikolai Mushigian, 29, he also had a couple other tweets that talked about like, hey, here are the options. They're either going to kill me, they're going to turn me into a brainless mind control slave, imprisonment type thing, or something else. And so, obviously it sounds like crazy talk, but then when stuff like this happens, it's a little suspicious. He was working on a project, and he created what's called the DAI stablecoin, which is it was supposed to be a way to create a more equitable type of currency that's decentralized and yada yada yada.
Sure.
Now he also created a project called Rye, which was sort of a derivative off DAI because DAI started doing things that he didn't like, and he was working on a system called Rico, the Rico credit system. More recently,
in Puerto Rico.
Huh. He's Rico. This is directly from his website here, bank.dev, which is interesting. Rico credit system. Rico is a free floating collateralized stablecoin designed with an emphasis on automation and market rate discovery. We've seen that it is impossible to make any short-term trade-offs with the idea of fixing it later, and that gradual decentralization is a myth. This time we will get it right before we deploy anything. And so basically what this is talking about is a lot of crypto projects right now are saying, hey, we got to start off as a centralized thing, organized, whatever, and then eventually it will decentralize as it gets out into the ecosystem. And he didn't like that. He thought the system itself should be decentralized from the get-go. And then, that way it's more fair. Central bankers can't control it. Basically, what it comes down to is that he was basically making a more free version of the CBDC. The central bank digital currency.
It's kind of doing a CBDC for Puerto Rico. And the interesting thing there, the dangerous thing there, in case anybody needs it pointed out, is Puerto Rico being a protected territory of the U.S. is on the U.S. dollar and would, it stands to reason that would be also subject to the U.S. dollar stable coin that the government centralized cryptocurrency that the U.S. government is trying to, put in place, which is connected to digital identity, system stuff, as of course we've covered. So his project was a direct threat to not just the amorphous idea of centralized control of currency, but directly a threat to the U.S. government's CBDC and control over Puerto Rico as a territory.
Yeah.
A very dangerous thing he was kind of messing with.
Right. And so some touching points, because he did tweet out about the pedophiles and the thing, sort of an Epstein-esque type of operation that he's mentioning. There is a connection with Puerto Rico and pedophilia. And this is a couple rabbit trails here connecting the dots. Other people have been connecting the dots as well and doing their own sort of rabbit hole. But briefly here, there is a gentleman named Brock Pierce, And page6.com back in January of this year had this headline: crypto billionaire Brock Pierce buys W Hotel in Puerto Rico, which means he's staked his thing over there in Puerto Rico. Rolling Stone back in 2018 called Brock Pierce the hippie king of cryptocurrency. Or don't you wish you were the hippie king of cryptocurrency, Basil?
Maybe. It depends if this guy is floating in the ocean right now or not.
No, Brock Pierce is alive. He's part of he's a face of the op, so to speak. Brock Pierce went from child actor to Bitcoin billionaire. Now he wants to turn Puerto Rico into a Burning Man utopia.
Okay, so he's in the zone. He's sort of a central figure to the evolution of mankind or something.
Yes, and also hippies in general, that whole movement having its connection to the intelligence apparatus. As anybody willing to go down that rabbit trail, you'll see a lot of connections there. And then in the Daily Beast in 2020 had this headline: meet Brock Pierce, the presidential candidate with ties to pedophiles who wants to end human trafficking.
Now that kind of broke my brain a little bit. So
yes,
he ran for president. Okay.
He did step down. I think he was running for Senate or something too recently. So he's active politically without gaining a whole lot of traction. By the way, he's staying kind of quiet about it.
And then it says he's got a connection. He's got ties to pedophiles.
Yes, he knows
wanting to end human trafficking.
Yes,
so pedophiles trying to end human trafficking.
This is a separate issue. The pedophilia and human trafficking are not one and the same thing.
Two separate things. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, for those who know about Brock Pierce, he was not featured, but he was sort of talked about in a documentary from 2015. It was titled "An Open Secret," and in it, it talks about the Hollywood's underage sexual abuse problem, and the sort of Brock Pierce was one of these groomer recruits kind of thing for, like new actors that come to Hollywood. He would sort of recruit them to parties and drug them. It was this whole thing. He was part of the people helping out the real creeper dudes, the creeper adults.
As we see with, unfortunately, more than one child actor who
the whole
was
industry.
probably a victim of the thing, which sort of Stockholm syndromes ingratiates them or normalizes the practice and then gets involved with the industry later.
There is a large elephant in the room when it comes to Hollywood and this type of activity that was going on as part of the politics of it all. So I just think it's interesting. There's a Puerto Rico connection there. There's the pedo connection there. And then the Rico thing, which of course, if you're trying to obfuscate search results of this guy's project called Rico, just take him out. And then so anytime somebody tries to look up Rico with this guy's name, we'll pull up as his murder, not the project.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they kind of buried the whole idea of replacing the central bank cryptocurrency.
I can't think of another. Yeah, and then, again, it doesn't. So the reason why International Business Times doesn't even mention Rico, I think, is for that purpose. I think it's meant to sort of take up all the algos. People searching Nikolai Mishugian and Rico, the project. So interesting.
Very interesting. Okay. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm on something else. Yeah.
That's
all right.
It for now.
Oh yeah. So I think it does connect with sort of the previous. I think
the whole thing
seems to be connected with the entire theme.
The entire theme today. I told you we got a very clear theme today.
Okay.
A good show to share with friends and fam.